From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8.
Now, the latest news.
Kylie Conway has the latest news. The top headlines. News you can use.
Please stand by.
Sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling. Now, here's Wish TV's Kylie Conway.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is the News 8 Daily 8 for Friday, January 29th. Happy Friday, everybody. Woke up to a bitter start today, but we will continue to see lots of sunshine, slightly warmer temperatures with highs getting into the mid-30s. As far as the weekend, we got a big weather system moving in tomorrow, the Saturday. It will impact most of the state through at least Monday. So we're going to start off with snow tomorrow. Then it's going to transition into this rain mix combo. But we should get a decent amount of accumulation out there in certain parts of our viewing area. So just keep that in mind. You might want to get the snow gear ready for the weekend. I know my kids are particularly excited for it. Okay, now to the news of the day. Investigators are still working to piece together the details surrounding a shootout at an Indianapolis intersection. It happened yesterday afternoon at 30th and Shadeland. IMPD says two men got out of their trucks and just started shooting at each other right in the middle of the intersection. Investigators say there was an undercover officer there who saw it happening, got out of his car, fired his gun too. Then they say that the two men got back into their trucks and drove off.
This is an area of concern and high violence area for our police department, and so they were in this area doing exactly what we want them to do.
Police say the undercover officer was able to follow one man, eventually lost sight of him, though. A man later found on 34th Street was wounded and taken to the hospital. Police say another man walked into a hospital, also wounded. Police now believe both of them were involved in that intersection shooting somehow. The Marion County Prosecutor's Office has filed charges against a teenager in Sunday's mass shooting on Adams Street. 17-year-old Raymond Childs III is accused of 6 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Prosecutors say they believe the shooting started after Childs got into a confrontation with his father.
A conversation about somebody going out or being outside the residence and spending, kind of sneaking out of the house. I think that was what initiated the dispute inside the home. Where it went from there, I think that's what we're trying to figure out.
Childs could spend the rest of his life in prison if he's convicted. He is not eligible for the death penalty because of his age. The Coalition to End Sexual Assault and Human Trafficking is offering free training sessions to prevent and address human trafficking. The coalition says it's a rapidly growing crime across the United States. According to the group, across the country, there were 11,500 cases reported of labor, sex, and child sex trafficking in 2019. 58% of all forced labor victims are women and girls. The coalition documented cases of forced marriage, forced labor, and sex trafficking of minors and adults across all 92 counties in Indiana. The group says there were 157 human trafficking cases reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. That's an increase of 19% from 2018. 40 of those involved minors. One survivor, Eric Harris, told our own Aaliyah Hodges that most victims had some type of relationship with their trafficker before their exploitation.
People tend to think that it happens like the movie Taken, which it's not. That's oversimplified for people's entertainment and enjoyment. People think it's strangers that are traffickers, but no, the reality is that the majority of people that have been exploited through human trafficking knew their trafficker or were somehow interconnected with the family from where the person that was trafficked originated from.
Harris is encouraging people to reach out to organizations that are led by human trafficking survivors. We have lists of all those resources available on wishtv.com. And the police funding fight makes its way to the State House today. Lawmakers are considering a bill that would prevent communities from slashing budgets for law enforcement. The author of the bill says it's in response to the outcry over the last year heard in protests to defund police. The proposal would limit cities, towns, and counties to budget cuts of 5% at most. The bill does not name a specific city that might change funding, but State Senator Mike Bohacek behind this says that he wants to ease concerns of people who fear police departments could disappear.
Has it happened statewide? No. But let's be really honest, there's been quite a bit of talk. And I mean, when you spray paint, defund the police on a building or on a sidewalk, it's going to get some action. And, we just need to make sure that our citizens feel that this is not something that's going to be brought into the conversation.
The bill is in the Senate's local government committee. It's expected to be taken up again next week. And a group out of Boston surveyed 130 city mayors nationwide. Its most recent results showed 80% of them do not support defunding public safety. 10% who responded say the police budget was too big. And the annual debate over cigarette taxes is getting a new push from an influential group of state health and business leaders. The Alliance for a Healthier Indiana is lobbying for a $2 per pack tax, double the current rate. The group argues that the state's high smoking rate leads to high health care costs. The General Assembly has revisited the issue several times in recent years without changing it. Some lawmakers say it stands a better chance this year. School leaders in Noblesville are calling on Governor Holcomb to prioritize COVID-19 vaccines for school staff. The district sent a letter to the governor to make the request. The district wants to be clear. They are one of only a few districts in the state that have been able to have students in person since the beginning of August. And according to the district, that's due to the dedication of more than 1,500 teachers and staff. Now it needs the governor's help to keep the buildings open, it says. The letter details how staff put their own health fears aside to be present and engaged with students, plus following extra safety protocols. The district says staffing continues to be impacted, and absences from teachers to bus drivers to custodians could quickly turn into a situation that would force them to close. The letter goes on to say it's imperative that Indiana students must not fall further behind, which could happen if they go virtual. That's why they want all school staff vaccinated now. The superintendent and the Noblesville School Board of Trustees signed the letter. Right now, the teachers as a group are not scheduled to get the vaccine anytime soon. Currently, any Hoosier aged 70 or older is eligible to schedule a vaccine. People facing the greatest risk of getting the virus get vaccinated first, of course. The Indiana chapter of the American Federation of Teachers says the impact of the virus on the teaching profession here in Indiana is tremendous. Teachers are even retiring early and being forced to use sick time. That's why there is such a push to get teachers in line next. And another coronavirus vaccine is showing promising results during its trials. Novavax says a phase 3 trial in the UK shows its vaccine has 89% efficacy. The company found it is slightly less effective, 86%, against the UK variant of the virus. The vaccine is nearly 96% effective against the original coronavirus. More than 20,000 people took part in the trials. And the first U.S. cases of a more contagious coronavirus strain are confirmed in South Carolina. The variant first appeared in South Africa. According to health officials, 2 patients have been diagnosed, and neither of them have traveled recently nor been in contact with each other. Officials are concerned that this mutation spreads more easily and that vaccines could be less effective against it. IU Health threw a small party to mark a COVID-19 vaccine milestone. The hospital system says it's administered 100,000 shots. Raynell Freeman of Indianapolis got that milestone shot at Methodist. Staff celebrated with some cake for Freeman and her husband. IU Health says its 7 clinics have vaccinated 75,000 people with at least 1 dose. 25,000 of them have gotten both. And now to the secret of being on the list when there are extra COVID-19 vaccine doses available. News 8's Hannah Bordeaux scoured opportunities all across the state. She found people shouldn't get their hopes up too high. So ideally, there aren't any extra doses. But health departments say sometimes there are canceled appointments. Plus, the vials of the COVID-19 vaccine hold about 10 doses each. So if the clinics only needed 5, then the other 5 go to people on the standby wait list instead of just going to waste. It's up to health departments on how they want to distribute those extra doses. In Marion County, they go to frontline personnel only, no wait list. In Fishers, anyone in the state can sign up to be on standby, but you must arrive within 30 minutes of getting the call. Right now, 20,000 people are on that list. Evansville has a similar process where you register online, and so does the Monroe County Health Department in Bloomington. For that list, people need to sign up weekly and must be available during clinic hours. All of these health departments say the extra doses first go to people who are already meeting the state age and eligibility guidelines, but it's still a chance for all of us to get that vaccine.
A little bit like the lottery for those who are eligible, because this past week we've had 4,000 names on that list, and we may have had 4 or 6 doses.
It's in the single digits of leftover vaccine every day, but by being able to distribute that, we're able to get those in the arms of people that really need it.
If you are lucky and get the shot, you will also be signed up automatically for that second dose. But remember, you can't just show up to these clinics. It will not get you a shot or on the wait list. You got to do that in advance.
Searching for a romantic summer getaway? Escape with Rich Girl Summer, the new Audible original from Lily Chu. the exquisitely talented Philippa Sue, returning to narrate her 5th Lily Chu title. This time, Philippa is joined by her real-life husband, Stephen Pasquale. Set in Toronto's wealthy cottage country, aka the Hamptons of Canada, Rich Girl Summer follows the story of Valerie, a down-on-her-luck event planner posing as a socialite's long-lost daughter, while piecing together the secrets surrounding a mysterious family and falling deeper and deeper in love with the impossibly hard-to-read and infuriatingly handsome family assistant, Nico. Caught between pretending to belong and unexpectedly finding where she truly fits in, Valerie learns her summer is about to get far more complicated than she ever planned. She's in over her head and head over heels. Listen to Rich Girl Summer now on Audible. Go to audible.com/richgirlsummer.
And this morning, Democrats are pushing forward with President Biden's COVID-19 relief plan, whether they get Republican support or not. Next week, the House and Senate are poised to start committee work on Biden's $1.9 trillion plan. It includes more money for the vaccine effort and the reopening of schools, and checks for $1,400 for most Americans. The president and congressional Democrats say they do not want to split the bill into smaller parts.
Time is of the essence. And I must tell you, I'm reluctant to cherry pick and take out 1 or 2 items here and then have to go through it again because these all are kind of, they go sort of hand in glove.
Republicans have signaled they support some provisions like the vaccine money, but they want to split it off into its own bill. And local doctors point to pandemic mask wearing and social distancing as one reason flu numbers are at an all-time low. There's a long-term concern as a result and some otherwise positive news. So Newsday's Brenda Donnelly, she spoke to 2 local pediatricians in Avon about this. They haven't seen a single positive flu test all season long. There are barely any across the entire state. So there is a map that shows the difference in case numbers from this season. You can find that at wishtv.com in Brenna's story here. And then to last season's. The difference is incredible. So the graph, this year's numbers of flu, it's basically flatlined. Last year, it's starting to spike at this time. There's no comparison. The good news is, of course, fewer people are sick, especially kids. That's great, right? Fewer kids going to the hospital, developing pneumonia in particular. The bad news is, Dr. Jamie Schmalow says kids are supposed to get exposed to some low-risk viruses.
It is sort of good that at some point they come in contact so they build some immunity to these things. I mean, I think it would be interesting to see what happens once we get through this time period when people are no longer doing the measures we're doing now. Obviously, some immunity may go down from us not being in contact with these viruses. And then if we sort of let our guard down and like kind of go back to normal, there's the possibility that we might see a big season with a lot of flu and other similar viruses.
In fact, he described it as the world going to its first day of daycare. We're all likely to get something. Dr. Schmalow did say COVID-19 is influencing diagnosing the flu as well. If someone comes into his office with flu symptoms, he's more likely to test for COVID than the flu since it's more deadly. But he says the numbers still speak volumes. For example, so far, Indiana has reported 3 flu deaths this season. This week last year, that number was 38. Voices raised in remembrance and a push for fairness within our healthcare system. The organization Call and Response held the vigil in honor of 2 Indianapolis Black doctors who died last year, Dr. Susan Moore and Dr. Shanice Wallace. Both deaths made national headlines, you may remember. So Moore documented her care for COVID-19 complications while she was in the hospital before she died. She said that doctors were telling her things that she knew weren't right, and she just felt like she wasn't being listened to. Wallace passed away from preeclampsia after childbirth. It's something Call and Response says Black women develop at a 60% higher rate than white women.
These Black women doctors gave their lives to serving and caring for others. When they became patients themselves, they were not recipients of the same standard of care that they offered others, the standard of healing, and not simply to do no harm.
Organizers want more awareness of what they call disparities in the public health system and of the families who have suffered because of them. President Biden plans to focus on immigration today. The president's expected to issue executive orders on regional migration and border processing, the U.S. refugee policy, and the establishment of a family reunification task force. Biden has already signed 5 immigration-focused executive orders. One halts construction of the border wall. Another reversed the Trump administration's restrictions on entry into the U.S. from 7 Muslim-majority countries. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is discussing upcoming elections with former President Trump. The two met yesterday at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Trump's Political Action Committee provided some meeting notes. They show that the two talked strategies for winning the House majority during the 2022 midterm elections. Democrats won control of the House by a slim margin in the 2020 election. And the day trading app Robinhood says it will allow limited buys of stocks it halted yesterday. This comes after what we talked about yesterday here. A group of Reddit users intentionally boosted the price of GameStop shares. Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown is calling for a congressional hearing on the current state of the U.S. stock market. Brown says people on Wall Street only care about the rules when they're the ones getting hurt. Seeing a lot of that chatter online today. Senator Elizabeth Warren agrees that a hearing is needed.
To have a healthy stock market, you got to have a cop on the beat. That should be the SEC. They need to step up and do their job.
A Robinhood customer filed a class action lawsuit against the company. A new Reddit group for the lawsuit currently has 31,000 members. Multiple major airline executives are speaking out against COVID-19 test requirements for passengers. Earlier this week, the CDC announced that mandatory testing on domestic flights is under consideration. Now, the CEO of Southwest Airlines says the move would be a mistake because of testing access and cost. The president of JetBlue Airways agrees. He says that his company doesn't support the idea. His concern is that testing appointments are scarce and results can take days to process. Testing for international flights into the U.S. did start this week, started on Tuesday. All right, now to some business headlines. Lilly earnings. They beat earnings estimates with strong sales in diabetes drugs and the launch of the COVID-19 treatment, which was bought heavily by the government. Lilly's CEO David Rick says this morning on CNBC that well over 100,000 people have benefited from that treatment and that he expects many more will benefit going forward as the logistics improve, giving Lilly the ability to just get it out to more people. Lowe's will hire 50,000 seasonal workers and pay out $80 million in bonuses. Stores will hold an interview day on February 17th. The hirings are for the spring home improvement rush and will include full, part, and seasonal workers. Indiana is still struggling with weekly jobless claims. WalletHub ranks the state 30th for claims last week. Jobless claims in the state are up more than 1,000% since the beginning of the COVID crisis. Microsoft's education boss told employees 100 million students use Teams, but Microsoft struggles to compete with Google for remote learners in some countries. Google's Chromebooks, which are generally lower-cost laptops, have seen widespread adoption in the educational market. Facebook's court-like oversight board overturned several of the company's decisions to remove content. This is its first set of decisions since the independent body began hearing cases last fall. It overturned Facebook's decisions in 4 out of the 5 cases before it. The cases touched on issues of hate speech, nudity, and COVID misinformation. Facebook board hasn't made a decision if former President Trump can be back on the platform. Starbucks wants to optimize existing drive-thrus and operations to speed up service. Starbucks stores is also building some stores as drive-thru only. According to the report, they would have no seating for guests, but would have multiple drive-thru lanes. All right, finally to sports. There will be an all-star team even if there's no all-star game. Voting is open now. Domantas Sabonis, Malcolm Brogdon, and Miles Turner are all making a strong case for a spot on the Eastern Conference roster. Nate Borkren is campaigning for all 3, the head coach, of course.
I tell you the truth about them. They're just their overall toughness, their skill level, what they mean to this team. They are unbelievable players. They have an unbelievable care level. And to be a great team player and to think team first is what all 3 of those guys have. And the way for an individual to look better is for the team to look better.
Indianapolis was scheduled to host the game, but the pandemic canceled that plan. Now the league's deciding whether and where to play one later in the season. Voting runs through February 16th. You can do that on the NBA website, the app, and on Twitter. The league says you can vote once a day. This has been your News 8 Daily 8. For Wish TV, I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV. Have a great weekend, everybody.
The News 8 Daily 8 is sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling.
Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast.
The News 8 Daily 8 with Kylie Conway. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.